We'll call on you, unmute your line, ask your question, and then remute. We will get started with James Crepia from the Oregonian.
Rod, just your thoughts on the first two scrimmages, obviously just off the field from the second one, but how you thought your guys did, particularly at the corner spots, but the secondary as a whole, these first couple of scrimmages.
Man, I'm kind of confused, James. I'm seeing you on two different pictures here. So
yeah, well, I'm at a softball game, so it's my laptop and my phone. Sorry.
Okay, that works. Well, obviously today and obviously the first scrimmage as well, I'm very pleased in where we are as a unit right now. We got a lot of guys that are going to step on the field for the first time, in their Oregon careers. Obviously, we've been blessed to have the defensive backs that we had here for the past 3 or 4 years. But at the same time, we're very excited to see these young men put themselves in position to make plays. So both the first scrimmage and this past scrimmage, the guys are really handling the new defense, very well, going in and out of the different calls. It's a great opportunity, great learning opportunity for a lot of young men to get some reps, and to get themselves prepared for their first football game.
Ryan Thorburn, register guard.
Rod, you just mentioned how young your room is, and we had a chance to talk to DJ James the other day. Obviously him and Traquez are from Alabama. You got a lot of California guys, Dante from the Midwest. What's kind of the chemistry of your guys right now?
Man, I'll be honest, man. The chemistry is great. The guys all like one another. We got a motto in the room that we want to compete with each other, not against each other. And what that does for the morale and the camaraderie of the room, it takes it through the roof, that we all want each other to succeed. Okay, and we're also rooting for our teammate to make sure they make plays. So if the next guy is in, we're rooting for him to make plays for us. And when it's my opportunity to get on the football field, I have an opportunity to make plays as well. And my teammates are happy for me as well. So, both DJ is taking a huge step, obviously, played probably about 25 to 30 snaps as we ended the season. Very proud of where he is right now. He's taking that next right step, prepare himself to play multiple snaps. You mentioned Traquez as well. Traquez probably is one of my, surprises of the spring. I think he's done a really good job in terms of making his presence being felt. Obviously, we came here playing safety, so him converting to the position, has been a transition for him. And now it's a situation for him where he's thrust out there, and he's actually been showing us some things that he's able to go in there and handle himself pretty well. Dante, man, and obviously he's a great athlete. Really begin to learn the position. These reps have been valuable for him. I think that once he gets these reps under his belt, and also the summer program, and we're going to see a continual jump in terms of his learning development and also his position-specific movement, in terms of him going on. Very surprised, by the level of acumen of Jalen Davies. He showed himself to be very well thus far, in terms of handling himself. Obviously, this is a kid that's supposed to be going to prom here in a couple of weeks. So to be here as an early enrollee, going through a system that, is a little bit more detailed coverage-wise than we ran here in the past. Very proud of where he is right now. I'm excited to add the other young men to the room, and we progress through the summer development.
Matt Preem, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Rod, what's the next step for Mykael? You showed up as a freshman and was really good and moved into the starting lineup last year as a sophomore. Like, what's the next step in his progression, you feel like?
I think for one, I think we got to go all the way back because Mykael didn't play his senior year of high school. Then obviously, he's a backup his true freshman year, playing a lot of special teams. And then next thing you know, it goes against Stanford and he has to go play 75 snaps. And, as a corner, and this is something that I've been talking with DJs about, as a corner, there's a difference between going in there to spell people and then going out there to play 75, 80 snaps. So there's some growing pains that Mykael had to go through that first game. And I think he gave up a couple catches, that first game, and a lot of people were in a hoopla, but he ended up having an all-conference season once he got, the experience necessary under his belt. And I think people had to realize he's a young man. They got to go play the game. And, are they going to make some mistakes? Yes, right? But we're going to continue to coach him, continue to love him, continue to develop him. So I think for Mykael, man, he's moving really well right now. He's one of the best athletes I've ever been around. If you show me a defensive back that can move and change direction, as well as he does or better, I like to see those dudes. I think the next development for Mykael is to continue to develop his body. He's a very sharp young man, in terms of the football. Not a man of many words, but in terms of schematically understanding coverage, understanding concepts that the offense is trying to throw him, he's very astute. For us, we're trying to be a little bit more vocal, which we do see him doing now, coaching Jalen Davies, coaching some of the younger corners up, which has been a welcome, welcome surprise for us all. Because if Mykael, he doesn't really say very much. He doesn't want to come up here and do any of these things in either. So for him to be stepping up and getting outside of his character, to help mold the young men, that's a huge deal for us. And we know that he's growing forward. So I think the next step is really developing his body. I think on the football field, there's nothing that he can't do.
James Crepia.
Rod, where's Jalen lining up primarily? I know you usually like to start in one spot. So see on the boundary, and just what's the progression and competition like with him, with Dante, again, younger guys at that spot.
I think for me, going into this deal, I wanted to get us playing left and right for the spring, primarily because we only had two of these guys that actually played in the football game at corner. So analytics wise, I wanted to have an opportunity to look at this spring and see both guys, see our players playing both field and boundary. Then we can kind of take a look at the cell scout to see who's most efficient where, rather than, just saying this guy's going to be here and that guy's going to be there. I wanted to have some tangible data, that showed the efficiency of where players play versus the field versus the boundary. So got the guys lined up left and right now. So it's been a steady competition. Nobody's playing, only boundary or the field. So it's actually been good. I think the players like it, in terms of not having to run back and forth, takes a little bit of mileage off your legs as a corner. Haven't played the position. I'm trying to really reduce that, but at the same time, I'm going to do what's best for our program. If the learning or the scheme tells us that we need to be a field or a boundary team, we will. But I just think it was key for us at having limited amount of guys who actually been out there in the game. Let's get some data. Let's get some tangible evidence that we can kind of go off of.
Ryan Thorburn.
Rod, certainly having a couple corners from Alabama would be no big deal in the SEC, but you got a couple of them up here in the Pacific Northwest. What made DJ and Triquez a good fit at Oregon, and how much does that help to have them here together?
I think this about the University of Oregon, I said it, when I came back, I think it's very unique. I think everybody for the most part are out of state, for the most part, in terms of their players. So I think that creates a potpourri, a mixture of players that's diverse areas where they're from, diverse backgrounds, races, religions, creeds, all of those different things. And I think it creates a unique opportunity, a unique experience for our young men. And it starts with the players by embracing one another. I've been other places where you may not embrace people that may be outside of that region. So I think it starts by the character of people who we recruit, to make sure we put the right people in our building, which they are. And the young men that are already there, welcome them with open arms. So Oregon has people from all over the place. So in terms of recruiting, it doesn't matter. Dante's from Missouri. DJ's from Alabama. We got Mikael here from California. We're going to get some kids here from Nebraska when we come in, come into the fall. So I think that's something that we pitch in recruiting, that, hey, it's not just regionally dominated. You're going to have an opportunity to meet people from various lives, various walks of life, different regions, to carry on with your network as you continue through life.
Jerry Thompson, Ducks Illustrated.
Yeah, Coach, watching a lot of pro games and college games, pet peeve is the defensive backs not turning their head, looking for the ball, even though they're beat a little bit. If they turn their head, look for the ball, they'd have an interception or breakup. How do you teach that, the fine line of when to look, how to look, and do that?
So I think for us, we always start with the location of the wide receiver, okay, and where we are in relation to him. I think that's the first thing we always look for. The next thing is the field location. Because if it's obviously in the plus area, there's less grass to cover than we're on the -20, where you're a little bit inclined. I can look and have my eyes back because the offense is running out of field to throw the football to. So I think the two things there for us is where we start at. Obviously, if a guy's behind, he has no business, looking back at the football because he hasn't earned that right. For us, we want to earn the right to look at the quarterback, which means that we have to win the route and be on top because I got to protect the end zone first. So I think when our kids or our players are in a stressful position, they may be trailing. Their teaching is not to look back at the quarterback because it's hard to find the football and locate what I'm responsible for, that receiver at the same time. Okay. If we're even with those receivers, meaning my shoulders are even with him, all right, we want to locate through the man. Because in a lot of college football you see right now, what are you seeing on the vertical balls that everybody is tight to? Okay. You're seeing a lot of push-offs, right? A lot of back shoulder throws, and those calls never get called. No fault to the referees. Those calls don't get called. So self-adjustments means we're going to turn into that man and locate the football through him. So we still have an opportunity to see it. And in the last position, okay, if I'm a yard ahead of that guy, that's the most ideal position to be in a perfect world where I'm a yard ahead of the wide receiver. I can squeeze him out to the sideline, then I can get my eyes up. So it's really about location of where I'm at in relation to the wide receiver, and also field location, where we are on the football field, whether or not the offense is running out of grass. So it's a combination of those two, because with the back shoulder phase and the push-offs that's happening with the big wide receivers, those things just aren't getting called. So we got to put ourselves in the best position to not only defend the route, but defend the end zone so they don't score points.
Matt Breen.
Yeah, Rod, just your thoughts on the week that's going to be for Thomas Graham and Diomede Lenore, and just kind of the life-changing moments these will be for those guys.
Man, obviously, anytime young men can continue to play this game and fulfill their dreams and, get paid to do it, obviously, as a program, we're going to be fired up for them. I've been talking to those guys periodically as we've been doing spring ball. Some of them excited, talking to them in between some of their NFL meetings and things like that. But all I can tell them all, hey, man, look, what's for you is for you. Enjoy this process, enjoy your family. Somebody's going to get an opportunity to get a really good football player. And guess what? The process is over. You're right back to being a freshman, no stars next to your name when you came to college, right? And then you go create your craft and create a role for yourself. So I think those young men are fired up as the ones I've talked to. We're in constant communication for the most part, but whether it's about communication, whether it's about, chalk talk with other programs that they're talking about what defenses we run to give them refreshers about our system. But those guys are fired up. I'm fired up for them. You know what I mean? In a few days, they're going to have a little bit of money in their pocket. Maybe they'll treat me to lunch instead of me treating them. But obviously that's going to do wonders. You know what I mean? You come to Oregon, you play great defensive back play, you go play in the National Football League. Now you have those guys that are moving on to go play in the National Football League. Creates a huge opportunity, not only for the players that are here, but also for those young men that we're looking at to add to our roster as well. So great opportunity, great chance to be a DB here at Oregon.
James Crepea.
Right, you touched on it a little bit before, but what makes DJ capable now of handling the potential workload down coming up for him in the fall, where, like you talked about, like Mykael, there was an increase in rep count, but also because Demo was on the other side, they weren't throwing at Demo, and it's understandable. So now it may be a little different, may not be the same ratio as what just happened, but what makes DJ capable of handling not just the increased workload, but getting picked on a little bit because he's the inexperienced guy?
No doubt. I think some of that's going to happen. You know what I mean? He's going to have to stand up. That's the world and we live in. But I think for DJ, man, I think he's the same athlete as Mikael. You've seen him move around, you've seen him run around, you've seen him change directions. He can do the same things, right? It's just those reps of getting that experience of what it is. I think, DJ's just, if they line up and race, Mikael might be right there, DJ will be right behind him. If you ask Mikael about DJ's foot speed or his transitions, he may tell you that, hey, Mikael's that DJ has better feet than him. So those two young prospects are very good players with very good skill sets. Now it's just about adding the body strength, the play strength, right? And really for DJ, the confidence. It's easy to be confident when you play 936 snaps, which I believe is Mikael's snap count. DJ's at 256 snaps, since he's been here. So I think having that snaps on his belt is helpful, but imagine when he gets to 500, 600 snaps, when there's not a situation he hasn't seen. So in terms of his movements, man, I'm fired up about him. He's dialed in. He's communicating at a high level, and the competition in the room is good with both him, Triquez, also and Jalen Davis. So it's been fun, but DJ's a special guy, man. He can move. I'm just anticipating him taking that step forward, really growing him forward in our program, because I think he can do it at a high level as well.
Oh, sorry, a couple more for you, Coach. We'll go to Ryan Thorburn, registered guard.
Yeah, as far as snap counts go, obviously Dante Manning didn't get a lot due to injury, but what do you think he took out of last year, and where is he in his development?
I think what Dante realized, he realized that college football moves very fast. And sometimes what you see in those situations is confirming what your own personal ability is. And I think he saw that, hey, look, I belong. I can make plays here. And he just have to get on the field and play. Obviously, him not playing that last season, we would love to have him have those reps back. But, thankful he's right back here, didn't lose a year of eligibility, still the same athlete. We got him healthy now. He's looking a lot better, in terms of his movement skill, and he's growing into position. Again, there's going to be some learning curves for him as well, just going through a true college football season now, a true college install. So, and he's handled it very, very well. He's careful with his words. He's intentional with his preparation in terms of how he meets and how he answers questions in the meeting room. So I'm excited to get him out there some more. You know what I mean? Just keep on putting him in different situations, whether it's game situations, third down, short yardage, red zone area, those things that he needs to learn and how to utilize the skill set that he does have, because he's special. He has a body type that we don't have per se. And when he puts hands on you, guys move. So we got to continue to grow him forward, continue to learn. I got him under my wing. I got him in my left pocket as much as possible. But we're fired up about his development. He's going to be a really good football player here.
Last question, James Crepea.
Right, you mentioned Quez before. I know you weren't here his true freshman year, but you saw obviously what Keith was going after recruiting-wise. For fans who, they didn't see him as much, he redshirted, he started safety, tinkered with nickel a little bit on special teams, came in as, a 2A quarterback in East Alabama, and ends up, now in a spot where, like you're talking about, he's showing out big in the spring. speak to the guy that you saw when Keith was recruiting him heavily and that you were helping out with, to now how he has shown up and been that big surprise for you.
I think for one, it'd be maturity. I think, for one, he was a developmental prospect just looking at his frame. Obviously 6'3", was very thin when he first came in. His body's starting to fill out, shoulders getting a little wider. So I think that's one that's created confidence in his movement skills and ability to move. But with 6'3" frame, obviously, those long levers, they reduces the parameters of the football field. So we're always looking for that length that can transition as well. And you look at his report from high school, what he did in high school, he had some really good ball skills. I believe he's a state record holder in terms of interceptions in the state of Alabama. So the skills were there. But much like I tell all my players, man, you cannot look at someone else's GPS. And I know as coaches, as fans, we want these guys to come and perform at a high level as fast as possible. But the truth is they all develop at different rates. And for him, it's taking a little bit longer than probably he wanted and probably we all wanted. But the stuff that we're seeing right now is the stuff that good football teams are made of and good secondaries are made of when you can create some championship depth. And then you have a tool bag. None of our DBs really look the same. We got some guys that are tall, some guys that are shorter, and we need him to step up in a major way to be that long body that if we have a boundary X that's a big body that we can actually throw a 6'3" body at him in order to compete, or if it's in the red zone where guys are trying to throw fade balls against some of the teams that like to do that in our league, that we have a serviceable option, to kind of throw that on there. So he's a great young man. He has a 3.4 GPA. Everyone in this building is rooting for him. He's a blessing to coach, and to see him take the next step forward has been very, very welcoming. I'm on him very hard. He'll tell you all the time, like, Coach, stay on me, but I'm on him very hard because I see a lot of potential. And obviously, when you see a young man that does the right things on and off the football field, you can't do anything but cheer for him and root for him to go.
All right. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all here person to person.